Hello, everyone. Welcome to Take It Easy. I'm Alexandra Martinez. You can call me Alex. I have over 8 years of experience in IT, and I'm a software engineer/slash developer. Here with me is Lucia Gallegos. She's a registered psychotherapist based in Toronto, Canada, and she's ready to learn more about the IT industry with us. This is episode 1. Let's get started. All right, so I wanted to tell you an anecdote about something that I witnessed happening, and it was so crazy, and I want to get your input on that.
Oh, shoot. Okay, shoot.
All right, so there I was minding my own business. It was in a company that I worked some years ago. So
Mhm.
I was just there working on my stuff, and then I saw that one of my colleagues, she was a woman, she she was talking with this guy, and then she's like, "Hey, have you by any chance done that thing that I asked you to do?" And then the guy is like, "Huh, what thing?" And then she's like, "Oh, I asked you to do one thing about like 2 or 3 days ago." And then he's so confused, like, "What? I don't know what you're talking about." And she's like, "Well, it was due today, so hopefully you have it."
Mm.
And he remembers, and he's like, "Oh, oh, you mean that thing? Oh, but I remember that I asked you like 2 or 3 days ago to send me the other thing that I needed. And then you never sent it, so I didn't work on it." And then
Okay.
and she's like, "What do you mean? I did send it to you. I sent you an email." And he's like, "No, of course not. I don't have any email from you." And then they both go to check this guy's email, and he had the application closed, so he didn't check any of his email in like 2 or 3 days. And then she's like, "You see, I did send it to you." And then he got mad, and he was like, "What? Well, why would you send me an email when you know that I don't check my email?" And
Okay,
so
okay.
I was like in shock. Like, seriously? Are you mad at her because she sent you something via email and you didn't check it? Seriously? And that's not even the worst. Like
Oh my,
they
there's
told
more?
they told the manager about it, and the manager, instead of like just telling the guy to check his email, he took this girl outside of the office, and then he asked her to please don't get in trouble. She was starting a fight just because. And then she was so shocked, like, "Are you actually defending him?" And he was like, "Well, if you know that he doesn't read his emails, why would you send him the email? And then why didn't you remember the next day about the thing so you could remind him to do the thing? Like, don't be so rude, and like just try to do your job and try to let everyone do their jobs." She was so shocked about it. She had to tell me instantly. And I was so confused. Like, is this for real?"
Actually, is this for real? Like, what I'm hearing is real. It's like I'm in shock. I'm kind of trying to see if I got missed in any part of this story, but seems like at the end of the story, somehow everyone involved made her look like it was her fault.
Yep. Yeah, and it's a real story. I I can tell you where it happened, obviously, but it did happen.
Yeah.
I was there.
Oh my, that's help me understand that because it's shocking and it is shocking. Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to make sure there was understanding. So then what happened?
I don't know what happened. Basically, well, both of them got mad at her because for some reason it was her responsibility to remind this guy to do his job. And because she didn't remind him, and not only she didn't remind him, she was being rude to him when she said, "Well, you should check your email."
That's So, oh wow, like, oh, I wonder. Uh, I'm still in shock. I'm still in shock. It's kind of like seems like a script for a movie, but I understand it's
No,
something that yeah, but it's not. And
I don't know why these things happen, but it's kind of normal for all of this to happen in development. I don't know what would you feel if you were that girl?
oh no, completely angry, completely angry. I feel angry now. I mean, and that's this is someone that I don't know. I only know this person through the story you're telling me, but I can imagine how angry you must feel and disappointed and stressed and I mean because it seems like at the end of the day there was what I'm hearing here is there is no room for communication, and even though you try to communicate, what I'm seeing this, let's call it triangle, like a sounds like a dramatic triangle where something that could have been somehow solved, uh, kind of, I don't want to use the word easy, but something that could have been solved by talking, I kind of make sure that you got this email, ended up being a dramatic triangle where a supervisor also joins, and instead of looking for a like way to manage the situation, seems like the way to manage it is to make feel someone miserable. I don't know. That's what I'm getting from the outside, right? I don't know. I'm impressed. Is that common in this field?
That someone else makes someone else miserable just because, yeah.
Why, Alexandra?
I don't know. I have a lot of stories like that, and I'm sure everyone that's hearing this, I'm sure everyone has a lot of horror stories about their work.
But it's kind of, and I wonder, like you that you are working with kind of in this environment, from your perspective, what's kind of the reason? I mean, I'm trying to see this picture, right? Again, there is an issue. You have the client, and you said that you have to tell the client that it was kind of going to be delayed because
Yeah.
of code. So kind of it's also affecting the client. But let's go back to this triangle about what happened there and about making other one feel miserable. Uh, that's I wonder, like working under that pressure because it's not. I mean, what you're telling me is not that. How can I say? There is this stress at work where you have to. There's deadlines, right? What I'm hearing here is there is lack of just being able to hear the other person and just making you feel miserable. Is how often how common is this?
I would say that regular adults under a lot of stress never think about having a conversation with anyone. Like it's just so easy to get mad and start screaming or like blame anyone else just because it's well you're under a lot of stress, right? I don't know if the manager was incredibly stressed out and it was easier for him to just say something to the girl instead of the guy. um, but it's I've seen it a lot. Like you can't even ask a question sometimes because everyone is so stressed out that they just answer like you should know that already, or I don't know, you should ask someone else, or Google it,
Oh,
or stuff like that. And I guess it's the same thing about being burnt out, being stressed out, and just not being able to handle your own emotions.
oh, definitely, because this seems is like you burn out. I mean, imagine it's going back to this specific event where you're working hard, you're doing your best. Probably this person will do it this best, her the best, and suddenly you are in the middle of a crisis that involves something that kind of having a clear communication could be kind of a good uh, or a great tool to manage this. Uh, that sounds, yeah, it's true. Like seems like there's a lot of burnout in this field. Like, is there awareness? Like, did you notice that there is awareness of saying it aloud? Should I feel burnout or stress? It's kind of, or it's kind of part of the already the contract you sign.
I think we all just get used to it right from university, at least in my case. I was just so burnt out all of my university years that it was just normal for me to have emotional breakdowns all the time. And then you kind of get used to that feeling, and it can even become like addictive, right? An addiction to
Hmm.
stress.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I guess you just get in the mindset that no one is gonna be there to answer your questions, and that you have to Google them or you have to investigate on your own. Because if you don't deliver something, it's on you. And if it was, I don't know, if you were waiting for someone else to give you access to somewhere, or if you were waiting for someone else to explain something to you and you don't deliver, it's your fault because you didn't deliver, not from the guy that needed to send you something or whatever. But in this case, I guess there was also some sexism involved because you could,
Hmm.
like, the manager could have easily blamed the guy, and it was your fault because you didn't follow up on the file.
Hmm.
But he took it out on the girl because it's just easier to blame a woman and for her to stay quiet, I guess. But of course, I don't know.
Yeah, and I yeah, like well, and probably you know better than that. You're in that field, and if we kind of go deeper, and also talking about gender, you being in this field and probably using this as an example, what do you see there?
I guess it really depends on the kind of company that you're in, on the country that you're in. It has a lot of different factors because, well, if you compare the sexism that is found in Mexico versus the sexism that is found in Canada, generally there's a lot more in Mexico, but not always the case because some companies are just so filled out with men, and then they just kind of forget that there's an equality there. And I haven't been witness to that in Canada specifically, but I have heard about some other people here in Canada that have received some sexist jokes or just sexist comments in general. So I think it really depends on the circumstances. um, in my company, I don't see it neither. So I guess it's just kind of luck, and then where you are standing right there, or the kind of people that you're surrounded by.
Hmm. I see. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, yeah, right. Makes totally sense what you're saying. Like, also myself coming from Mexico, I think I get what you're saying, and I also wonder how women, like for instance, working, do you have experience both sides? I mean, in Mexico and here in Canada, I wonder how you notice or how you see the women perceive themselves in this environment. Kind of like, and I'm certainly shocked thinking about this case that you shared with us, right? Like, is yeah, also kind of looks like it's involved in this gender. Um, but I wonder, from your experience or what you see in other women, how is that for them? Kind of, yeah, how's from the inside?
Well, for example, this girl, she was also new to the company, and she was kind of a junior developer, so she was not used to that kind of comments. And then she was just so shocked because she was she was one of those smart girls that never gets like a report from the school and never gets scolded or stuff like that. So she was really in shock. This was like her first time when a superior was telling her that she did something wrong. So and it wasn't even her fault. So she was so shocked, and then after that she kind of went down a little bit in her attitude because she was just scared about the manager asking her to stop doing stuff or to start doing stuff. And she even started like reminding everyone about their jobs because she really believed what the manager said about it being her fault, that she didn't remind the guy or that she didn't ask the guy if he was working or stuff like that. And it's so sad because you can't really say anything to those people because they need to understand it themselves. Um, so for me, it was heartbreaking. I was kind of used to that kind of comments by then, so I got very mad and I told her like, hey, don't get down, like that what he said to you was not right. He should have gone to the guy and not to you, and it wasn't your fault and all of that. But of course, she didn't believe me, and then she became kind of like the person that everyone went to when they didn't know what to do.
And what you're saying is heartbreaking because also what I understand is somehow she believed that. Somehow
Yeah.
she thought that it was her fault.
Yep.
So it's kind of, it comes to my mind. I don't know if you know the term gaslighting.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. And it's like, even though it's kind of more used probably in the example that we use, gaslighting is probably more used in relationships, like romantic relationships, or could be applied to different things. And gaslighting is that kind of someone who's gaslighting you is making you believe things that are not real with in a way to control you. So what I hear about her is like she started doubting about herself. In a company, it takes two to tango, right? But I mean, here obviously, the way I see in this, what is happening here is there is a lot of controlling and manipulation, and could be because you say probably they are. I mean, everyone is stressed. That could be one reason, or it could be like you say. I mean, there was in this case two males and just one woman. I mean, I don't know, but it sounds to me like what is kind of breaking my heart, and I feel it is like she kind of started doubting herself, and that's really dangerous because when we start doubting ourselves, anyone could come and implant ideas,
Yeah.
and that's really dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that a lot of time, and like it's just regular for anyone to shout at you or to just tell you that it's your fault or whatever. I think we're trying to make a very environment in general. But I still see it a lot. Like even for example, even if your company is the greatest of them all, you still have to work with clients to do whatever they ask you to do. And for some reason, the clients sometimes get the feeling that because they're paying us, they can treat us however they want. So, like from something like working extra hours, that is super regular, and then like not respecting your time, for example, like calling anytime out of nowhere without scheduling a meeting or anything, or like screaming, shouting at you and telling you it's your fault and you should have done this yesterday and blah, blah, blah. And I guess, as I said, it's just like something regular that it's expected to happen eventually. And the worst thing is that, especially now in a COVID world where we're all working from home, is that they are expecting you to be available 100% of the time. And then if you're not available, they kind of make you feel guilty about not being available, or I don't know, they use so many tactics to make you work more. Like, for example, saying that you won't get the promotion because you're not working extra hours, you're not going the extra mile, it's what they always say. Um, or even like something minimal, like, hey, you need to finish this for tomorrow. And then you will be like, but that's a lot. I don't know if I can finish it tomorrow. But they will still be like, oh, well, if you don't finish, it's kind of your fault. So do whatever you need to do to finish tomorrow. Not with those words. They will like sweeten it up for you
Mhm.
so you can swallow the lie. And then you think that it's your fault because you didn't estimate good enough, but you didn't even estimate. You just got the deadline out of thin air. So there are a lot of manipulation issues in this industry.
And it's well, because it's like you basically and you said something important, right? Now with kind of working from home after we with all the COVID situation, what I'm hearing, and I think after hearing you talking, but I also kind of thinking other people I know that are kind of working also from home or kind of similar industries. Uh, like there is no basically room for any other activity that is not work. And that is what I'm hearing is perceived as if you take your time for yourself is wrong and is you don't have that right and that you're working extra hours. Now working from home it's like you wake up, you're working, you work, and then you go to sleep. So basically is and I'm assuming sometimes weekends. So that's like how many hours, right? Involved in working, and when there is no recognition or this language, right? That it's so kind of uh, kind of use these kind words, and I guess that's even make you feel more. Let's use the word again, miserable. Because I mean, it's if I'm thinking someone that is working hard and a manager or supervisor come and tells, well, you need to finish this work today or by this time, and you're seeing the number of hours, and if you say no, I guess that may also kind of make the person feel miserable and feeling guilty. I don't know. I'm assuming. It's so well. It's burnout.
Yep. Yeah, I think that you start feeling trapped because it feels like you have no choice but to do it. And then it depends on the company as well, because some companies, especially the big companies, they make it seem like, with a lot of marketing, they make it seem like their company is the best of the world or of the country you're in. And then when you believe that, then you believe that it's an honor for you to work at that company. And because you believe that so much, you try not to lose your job. They just say something like, hey, well, we need you to work extra time, go the extra mile. And because you need to represent the company, like, this is a big company, this is a very nice company, and then you have like all the insurance and whatever benefits that you have, and you should be thankful that you're here. So then you feel guilty and you start working a lot because you feel just good to be in that company, but in reality, you're just miserable.
Yeah, it's like kind of yeah. It sounds like at a certain point like a brainwashing. Like this is kind
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
company, and yeah, kind of um, uh, go the extra mile, right? Like when you're saying go the extra mile, I feel like just to hearing that because I kind of that phrase itself is tricky, right? It sounds nice. It sounds like oh, there is no harm, but it's aggressive, right? Go the extra mile, and it's like, well, I've been running for 1,000 miles. Going an extra one is also is exhausting, and I wonder. Now, when I was listening to you, and when I was while I was listening to you, I wonder. I mean, we for sure we might not have the right answer, but that's maybe not the point. But it's more about trying to kind of play with that a little. If we go back to this event that you mentioned, and I wonder, like, if this person, this woman that had that experience with all this kind of brainwashing and kind of all these go the extra mile, and this is the company and you have to kind of, like we say in Spanish, right, like usar el uniforme. It's like you have to use the kind of wear the uniform, right? So I wonder from your perspective. I mean, no, we might not have the right answer, but how do you think was for her, like, that idea of, because sounds like a conflict. I mean, on the one side, someone is coming and telling me that I'm doing the worst job ever, right? But
Mm-hmm.
she knows that she works hard. So there is another part that is kind of feeling like, wait a second, but I'm doing my job right. However, the other part feels in a contradiction because how come that this person comes and blames me? I don't know if I'm being myself clear. It's kind of having two polarized parts in one.
Yeah.
That breaks your psyche. I mean, that's a lot to handle because it's like you having two different cognitions in one. So long short story, and to go to back to my my point is, how do you think it was for her, this kind of contradiction?
Well, I know she was heartbroken because some months after that, there were like the company's promotions, and guess what? She didn't promote.
Oh
um,
God. Okay. Yeah.
but she was doing a very good job, and she was even like the mom of the other guys because she was reminding everyone what to do, when to do it, how to do it. And if I'm pretty sure that if she was a guy, they would have promoted her or him because it's like expected for women, at least in Mexico. It's like expected for women to coordinate everything, to have control of everything, to keep everything neat and clean. And like something very small, like every time that we had a birthday and then we brought cake or anything, there was always women that were cleaning everything. Like they were picking up the napkins or the forks or anything. They were always the ones picking everything up, and the guys never did a thing. Like maybe
Mm.
they threw their trash in the trash can, but that was about it. And it was kind of expected. And sometimes I would go to the women and ask like, why are you doing that? You don't have to do that. Everyone has to pick up after themselves. And they were always like, oh no, but I like doing it. So I don't know. I think it's kind of a mindset that some women have, like they have to take care of everyone somehow, but it's kind of expected as well. And so she was remembering all the tasks that everyone had to do, and she was reminding everyone all of about all of the tasks, but still she didn't promote, and then other guys from the same team did promote. So it makes me wonder, is it really because she's a junior developer, or is it just because she's a girl?
Yeah, completely. And also, it's like this person, she's a girl who somehow, because of the environment, is kind of believing that, right? Like that's that kind of, oh, it's my fault. I don't have an opportunity here. And it's, I mean, just this clear example you're giving about this party, and everyone is just leaving, that gives a clear example of how things are in a company, right? It's like going to a home, and you see the dynamic of the family by really kind of seems like uh, common things. Like in this case, I think that kind of speaks a lot about the idea of the role of women in this case. Uh, and also what you're saying, right? Like, hey guys, like, why you're doing this job is I mean, everyone, we work here. and kind of assuming like, yeah, no, it's okay, or it's the role, uh, is heartbreaking.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just the way that we're raised and then the way that we continue going through life. It has happened to me as well sometimes. I blame it on my OCD, but I don't think it's always true. Sometimes, for example, something so small like we have naming conventions for naming the files, for example, and then someone names a file wrong, and then I feel like I immediately have to go and fix it. And people have asked me, like, why don't you just ask the person that created the file to fix it? And I blame it on my OCD. I'm like, no, because it drives me crazy to see it like that, and it's just easier for me to fix it. But then I end up fixing everything else, right? Um,
Mm.
and I think I've seen that in a lot of women, and I've seen that in men as well, but not that much. Maybe like two or three men. And I see it all the time in women. Like we have this kind of OCD that's telling us, hey, you have to fix that, and then you cannot sleep until you fix it.
Yeah, and it's a good point, and I think, yeah, it happens, and I mean, and I think here the important thing is awareness. I mean, kind of identifying, okay, here this is what is happening, and this is kind of the reason. Because what I'm hearing here is that awareness will make us, or give us the tools to kind of cope with it, instead of just kind of doubting of ourselves. If that makes sense, like, um, knowing and understanding probably what's kind of happening also, within ourselves, and having that knowledge, I think is a key factor. Uh, because, for instance, in your case, that you say, okay, identify probably, this is, OCD, and I mean, it's a trait, and trait also could be used somehow in a way to achieve things. But I think, what makes a difference is that awareness of knowing what's happening. If that makes sense. I don't know. What do you think, Alexandra? Maybe I'm here.
I
I'm going
think,
to a different place.
yeah, no, I think, yeah, we have to really understand why we need to fix everything. For example, myself, again, I say, oh, because my OCD won't let me sleep if I see that a variable is wrong. And it's kind of true. I mean, I don't know if I have OCD for real, but I feel like an obsession that I need to fix the variable or the file or whatever it is. But I know that I could live with myself if I didn't do it. So what I try to do, I have this kind of motto that I use when I feel like I'm about to spend hours fixing something that's not up to me. I just tell myself, no es tu pedo. In English, it's basically like saying, it's not up to you or it's not
Yeah.
for you to fix, something like that. But it sounds way better in Spanish. So I just tell myself, like, no es tu
Yeah.
pedo, no es tu pedo, no es tu pedo. And then I just repeat it over and over and over and over and over and over until my head starts calming down. And then every time that I see the file that it's named wrong, I continue telling myself, no es tu pedo, no es tu pedo, no es tu pedo, no es tu pedo. And I try to just kind of look into somewhere else and just kind of remind myself, like, no, it's not up to you. You're not supposed to be fixing that. Let
Mm,
someone else fix it. Because it also happens that when you're developing something, you normally have like tight deadlines to do a lot of stuff. And so you don't have the liberty to spend a couple of minutes fixing something because it's never a couple of minutes. You think that, oh, it's just
yeah.
one variable and I can fix that. But then if you fix that, you have to fix all of the other files that are referencing to the same variable. And then you have to fix, I don't know, any other variable that also was named wrong. So you end up spending like hours fixing stuff that you were not supposed to be fixing. So it always seems like it's a small change, but it never is. So yeah, I just tell myself, no estupendo, it's not up to you, and I continue my day. And then if I really want to fix it, what I do is that I create a task, like a formal task, and I add it into like the board or whatever planning that we have. So you're not in development. Normally we have like a board with all of the tasks that we are going to be doing, and sometimes we plan those tasks for the week or the next 2 weeks or stuff like that. And so if I really really want to change something, what I do is that I create an actual task in the board, and then someone, it can be me or it can be someone else, gets the task, and then we plan it, and then someone or myself, we fix it. But now we have the time for that task, and I don't have to spend more time that it's not up to me fixing that it wasn't even my problem. So that's an advice that I can give all of those people out there. If you're fixing something that's not for you to fix, just tell yourself it's not up to you. Or if you speak Spanish, say es no es tu pedo. And that, I'm sure that will help.
Definitely, and I think I love what you're saying, right? Because and I love, I think what we've learned so far about this hour is no estupendo. Like, and that
Yes.
awareness, and I find so fabulous what you're saying, what you're doing, and I kind of, number one, you remind yourself that is not on you, no estupendo, and also number two, you're kind of like what you're doing, you're also knowing and making other people know that is I mean they also have to help somehow, um because it could be, imagine, I mean, you're doing your job and on the top of that, organizing things, that could be a lot. So by kind of what you share that you're doing is also a way for you to welcome anyone, and to also help, because at the end of the day is a company.
Yeah. Yeah, and besides, you end up spending the company's time, kind of, because if you were to charge for those 2 or 3 hours that you took by fixing something, well, that could be like 2 or 3 hours that your company would earn by doing this change for your client. But if you don't do it, then it's just like you spent 2 or 3 hours more in a task that wasn't even the task that you're supposed to be doing. So it's kind of on you. Like, if you take the time to fix that when that's not your task, then you will be delayed on the task that you actually have to do. And then they will make you feel guilty by telling you, well, you kind of had to finish your task on time and you didn't, so you have to spend the extra hours doing it and we're not going to pay you.
Oh shoot, yeah, that's true. That's so true. Yeah, 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 and that makes things totally different. No, I think it's what I see is beautiful, how we can understand this perspective, right? That this kind of going and kind of check an event that happened in the past, and how that can bring us awareness, and probably that's kind of what I invite everyone to do, is kind of that awareness. Also, when in a company, there might be times where yes, we might make mistakes, we're humans, but also to understand when we probably, the doubt is not real. I mean, doubting is when the doubting of ourselves is not real. It's more from an external part, like we can see in this case. Uh, and also, what you're saying, right? If we bring that to awareness of what does kind of belong to you and what does not, I think that can have a huge impact, and understanding that because I mean life is kind of short just to kind of be working under pressure and in the burnout like in an environment where it's a lot of burnout. So just kind of keep a curious mind and ask yourself like, is this kind of is this kind of good? I will say, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And what better way to know yourself than going to therapy?
That's a good way to yeah, that's a good way to there are different ways. Therapy is one of them. Other people might kind of use experiences like mindfulness experiences. Um, but yeah, it's a good way to know the self and to invite you like to kind of, and if you have any questions, let us know. We'll be happy to kind of help with that. That's my area. I'm here and coming learning. I'm coming here to learn about how is the field, how's the professional field in this beautiful profession. I'm kind of, obviously my knowledge on IT is basically turned on my computer because that's my area of expertise. But I'm so happy here to come and learn from this field and also to kind of add my knowledge from my own field.
Yeah, awesome. I think with this one chapter, we have a lot of things that we can discuss in the next chapters.
Absolutely. So get ready, people. And if you have any questions, let us know. We'll be happy. Or stories like this one, horror story. We can call it the triangle story.
Yeah. All right. So I guess by now our website is up. So you can go ahead and go to our website, improsdev.com/podcast. And there you will see a form that you can fill if you have any horror story that you want us to analyze and talk about. You can send them our way. It doesn't have to be with your name, so you can just mention the incident, and you don't even have to mention the company or yourself. It would be nice to know the gender, just because we want to be able to check these issues, like if it's sexist or not. But you are not, you don't have to send that necessarily. And it can be totally anonymous, or we can mention your name if you want. So yeah, we invite you to go to prosdev.com/podcast and fill the form and tell us your horror stories in IT.
Because we love horror. We love in it.
Oh yes. Yeah, that's another horror story.
That's another horror story.
All right. Thank you so much, Lucia, for this wonderful time. I hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Alexandra, and see you soon. And we're looking forward to reading those horror stories.